Hey, I'm Kiran Maestri. Welcome to Future of Our People. It's a podcast series dedicated to leaders who are shaping the future of work. The idea is to generate authentic and real world content, uh, discussing several topics with leaders such as leadership mindset, building cultures, employee engagement, and future of workforce. On that note, I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Hemant Nerurkar, who is the founder and chairman of Mindcraft Software. Hemant has over 3 decades of rich experience in the technology industry. Good afternoon, Hemant. It's a privilege to have this conversation with you.
Good afternoon, Kiran. It's a privilege to talk to you.
Thank you, Hemant. In fact, I've been looking forward for this interaction. There's lot of things to discuss, as I said before, about leadership, your success. In fact, your journey with the Minecraft is just not a story of business growth, but it's a testament to visionary leadership and the transformative impact that you brought in the technology industry, right? So it's an opportunity for us to know your insights, your wisdom, your best practices for us to learn and pick. So on that note, Hemant, let's start at the beginning of Minecraft story. I believe you started your entrepreneurial journey in 2002. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah. I mean, could you please share what inspired you to start the company and how your past experiences shaped your vision into the future or its future?
Actually, if you want me to give you a little background about myself, it will be easier to answer that question.
Sure.
I finished engineering in India, then I did a master's degree in electronics and communications, actually. Because in those days, there was hardly any computer science degrees here in India. And after that, I started working for Bell Labs. I was in the US and Bell Labs and then AC Nielsen, back to AT&T Capital Corporation. So that was my journey, about a 12-year journey in the US. Then I came back to India with the purpose of starting a company. But then, money kind of attracts. So a US company gave me an offer to run their company in India. So I did that for about 4 years. Okay. But then I realized that, I was making much more money in the US. What am I doing here? So I decided to quit and start a company of my own in 2000.
And that's a brilliant. I mean, that's where every entrepreneur I'm speaking to, right? That's the journey. It's always right. I mean, when you started, what was its purpose then, right? And what is its purpose now? I mean, I know over the last 2 decades, Minecraft has kind of evolved, meeting the business landscapes. So, what was your purpose during when you started?
Of course, every business should have the purpose of making money. But more importantly, it was, I realized when I came back here that the financial services industry didn't really have an IT outlook. It was more EDP.
Yes.
This was in 97, 98 times. Okay. And I realized that this is not going to last for too long. Okay, it has to change. And that is the reason I started this company, thinking that there is a huge potential, which is true, worked out pretty well for us. And in those days, being a 5 people, 7 people company, we got customers like Bombay Stock Exchange, HDFC Bank, Porter Group, which today, I mean, being a 7 people company, you can't even walk into Bombay Stock Exchange. Right? Things have changed.
Things have changed. And I think now, is it fair to say you started on your own? Now it's grown up to almost reaching around 700 employees?
That is correct. Yes. But I started on my own, but I have 4 more founder members.
Okay. So what was, just talk through about your leadership when you started, Hemant. I mean, for the last 2 decades, right? You've gone through a lot of changes. So what has worked for you from a leadership style standpoint of view?
Leadership is a very, it's a very different concept. It's like you are a better leader if you don't come across as a leader. In the sense, You got to carry your people around. You have to develop consensus. You can't be, my way or a highway kind of person, because in our business, it is very, very difficult to retain, right? And the better the person is, the more, they have more ideas, and probably if they're much younger to you, they are probably more, they're closer to the action than you are. So you have to learn to understand what they are letting you, more than saying, I know everything. Okay, that kind of leadership doesn't work in our industry. Okay, what I'm proud of at Mindcraft is we have about 30 employees who are with us for more than 10 years.
Wow. Okay. So it's completely agree with you, especially for small to medium-sized industries. One of the pain point is to attract and retain talent, right? Could do is to treat them well, and they are aligned with your company's goals and the vision and purpose. Needless to say, and I think what you said is more than 30 employees are there with you. They started journey with you, and they are with you as well. So were there any defining moments in your career that was kind of made a difference from a leadership standpoint, Hemant? Kind of adversity that kind of turned it out into positive for you? And any learnings? Because as you said, right, leadership is kind of evolving, you keep learning. But is there any time of adversity that kind of turned out into positive for you? And any
learning? Yeah, many. Two I can tell you right away. 2008. Who in the financial services industry was not affected by 2008? We were badly affected. We had just moved into a large office, and then we went down from 200 people to about 80 people.
Wow.
We lost a lot of money that year, but we didn't fire anybody. Okay. Then again, COVID was, the first few weeks of COVID was a big challenge. Most of our employees moved to work from home, and we needed to procure some 150 laptops when the whole thing was closed. Everything was closed. No, there was no store. Even distributors were unwilling to send you anything. You couldn't get out on the streets. And in those days, we managed to get 150 laptops to every employee. Of course, we went to the authorities, took their permissions, and explained them the situation, and they were very cooperative. But yeah, these were the two challenges that we faced. Other than that, it's been business as usual. And fortunately for us, we have chosen a very small, domain, financial services, that to private sector, that to primarily in and around Mumbai. And in that, domain, as well as the technology stacks that we have chosen, we have been able to make a difference to our customers.
That's interesting. I can imagine, right? 2008, it could be one of the most challenging and difficult. And in fact, during that time, I even lost my job myself when I started literally beginning of my career. And I think, yes, I was based out of London at the time. So it was kind of a difficult and dark times. It didn't last for long.
New York was the most, London and New York were the most affected place, maybe Chicago.
Exactly. Luckily it didn't last long, and we kind of overcome, because we are in the technology industry, right? It's kind of rapidly evolving. Now we are talking about generative AI. So from a leadership standpoint, where the technology is constant evolving, what do you think, what traits are required from a leadership standpoint is required to lead this constant change? Are there any particular traits that work for you?
Look, this technology arena, right? You got to keep running to stay in the same place. It's like being on a escalator that goes flat. You don't have this on the airports, right? So if you are going against it, you'll have to keep running to stay there. It's the same thing in technology. Every day something new is coming up. As a small company, we don't have to be really proactive. All we have to do is be fast reactive. Okay. The larger companies have the wherewithal as well as the money to actually know what's going to happen in the industry tomorrow. Even if we know what has happened today or what has happened yesterday, we are fine because we can change in 2 days. They take 2 months or 2 years to change. So we have an advantage and we have a disadvantage. So both together works out pretty well for us. But we
Okay.
have to acknowledge that. We cannot say that we will try to figure out where the market is going to be 3 years down the road. We're going to be miserably wrong. There is no point.
So I like the word that you use instead of, I mean, if you can't be proactive, just be fast reactive. Exactly. No, that's so on that note, let's come to the point of culture now, right? I mean, culture is very it's like a wind. It's invisible, but it can be seen and felt. So how
Yes.
have you, when you started the journey, right? When you started Minecraft, how have you cultivated a company culture that aligns with your mission, with the purpose and values, right? And what role do you think culture plays in your strategy and operations?
See, culture is how people see you talking to your subordinates. Okay. I mean, there are people who are pretty high up in the hierarchy who are reporting to me. The way I talk to them and the way I talk to the fresher that has joined the company, the way I talk to the person who serves me coffee, uh, that is what builds culture. Culture is
Yeah.
not built by large PowerPoints and telling people what to do. You don't have to tell anybody. I'm sure you have heard this before. You can tell your children whatever you want to, but every day they're seeing what you do, and they learn from what you do, not what you tell them. Right?
Agreed.
About culture in the organization,
No, that's
it's very easy to build. It's just that if you respect people, they will feel. Look, I say this, especially in case of women working here, they should feel more secure here or as secure here as they feel at home. Yes, we can provide that kind of an environment. They will not be able to uh, put in their 100%. So it's a question of how secure people feel. I don't want to use the word insecure, a very negative connotation to it. But how secure people feel, how do they feel that they belong here? Do they feel that, if they have something to say, uh, would they think twice or would they uh, prefer to, shut up and, what's in it for me? Why should I do it? I get my salary on time anyway. That kind of an approach. It depends on how you treat them. If you treat them well, they would want the company to do well, and they will have the, I don't use the word guts, but they would care enough to stand up to their direct boss or manager or leader and say what they want to say.
agreed. So it's the culture of what we say. It's a psychological safety where people have the ability to express themselves, right?
Even if I don't agree with you, it's okay, but I shouldn't put you down just because I am a notch above you in the hierarchy. If I don't agree with you, I have to explain you why I believe that is not correct.
I completely agree with you, Hemant, in a way that, I mean, that's the way you bring innovation, right? Innovation at your workplace, where you have the
Absolutely.
opportunity for your employees to come with an ideas and suggestions. It might be, you may not agree, but yet it is yet opportunity for employees to raise their voice. They've seen value and heard, right? I mean, you maintain a point, it's easy, but was it difficult for you to maintain the same culture as you, because when you start with, right, with 20, 30 people, it gets easy, but when the more you scale it, right? Was it difficult to maintain the same culture? The more people are coming in.
Yes, it is. But at the same time, it is not my job.
Exactly.
Okay. And if, you have to explain it to them that, the way you were feeling when, you were a fresher here. I mean, I have a head of HR who joined as fresher. She with us for some 70 years.
Wow.
Okay. So it's like, are you making people reporting to you feel the same way that you felt when you joined 20 years ago or 15 years ago? If yes, you're doing it right. If not, then you got to change.
In fact, that reflection of that self-reflection when they joined, right? How they've made felt. It's a very subtle way of benchmarking, right? Just to make them feel and creating that impact as well. That's a very lovely example there, Hemant. And I think on that note, right? I mean, from when you started, now I know you got your CEO and their leadership team to look after. But if I had to reflect,
So they are founder members. 4 of them are about 12 or 14 years, somewhere in between, younger than me. So this is the right time for them to work as hard as I did 12, 14 years ago.
I can imagine. So no, now you don't have to deal with all the nitty-gritty challenges that you find within the organizations.
Day-to-day firefighting is not what I do anymore. But then there are, when you take yourself out of, this is another learning which I didn't know. I found out by accident that when you take yourself out of the day-to-day stuff and give it to someone, and he or she takes it very willingly and decides that they're not going to come running to you every time, then you have a lot of time, which you can use very positively for building alliance and talking to industry people. Look, you asked for an interview. I was willing to do it in a day or two. It was not like, I'm busy and I can't meet you for the next 20 days, those things like that, And I'm sure you've heard that a lot.
I absolutely. And in fact, it's such an amazing things to hear, right? We often talk about the fundamental role of a leader is to not only create more leaders, but they also delegate, right? Offer delegation and the way you kind of worked on your mantra of delegating it, more focusing on scaling for businesses for growth, right? That's phenomenal. If I had to take back, Hemant, in like last 10, 15 years, right? What were some of the challenges that you faced in keeping a diverse and growing teams kind of engaged, right? Because the way you were growing, and how have you addressed these challenges? What we're looking for is some practical challenges that you faced, and how do you went about it? Are there any learnings?
Oh, yes. Look, I was lucky that all my entire next level, they had worked together with me elsewhere, and they were friends too. So there was no one-upmanship within them, which is not always going to be true. And I have been telling them this, that, your teams are not going to be as cohesive. So you will have to kind of break the task into different areas and give them something of their own. My team was like, anybody drops something for whatever reason, so the next guy will pick it up and take it to the logical end. Not complain that, she didn't do it or he did do it or something like that. But I kept telling them that you're not going to have this luxury because you're going to hire people from various organizations and then develop. And they are all come from different cultures and difficult. So don't expect tasks and let them run with their teams. So everything can't be pushed down because of circumstances. See, there's another thing. Everybody will give you a chance to succeed. But if you can give your, I'm talking about higher ups, not a fresher, a chance to even fail, it's okay. Because not everything is going to succeed. If certain thing fails, you got to talk to that person and ask, what happened? What did you learn? Is there something I or somebody else in the organization can do to help you to get out of this situation? Rather than blame him or her for this. It's like nobody wants to fail. There are certain circumstances which are beyond your control. That's one reason for failure. The other reason for failure is you didn't see it coming. Which is fine. I'm focusing on 10 different things. You're wrong on one. So does that make you a non-performer? Not at all.
No, I think
the first question should be, what did you learn?
Exactly. Looking, right? What did you? Yes. Okay.
How would you do it differently next?
What you do?
Get another chance.
That's interesting. That's interesting, Hemant. In terms of looking ahead, right? So what are the aspirations for Minecraft? Where would you like to see Minecraft going in the next 5 years? Now, you've got the generative AI, which that has a profound impact the way we live and work. In fact, it is not only offers endless possibilities, but it's kind of reshaping our jobs, how we think, how we work. So what's in its store for Minecraft? What can we expect from Minecraft in the next 5 years?
There are two things we are trying to do. Okay? One is right now, if you would like to be the first vendor that comes to mind for financial services industry, again, private sector. So that is, we're getting close to that. And just growth. We don't want to do anything different. We're not getting into products. We may acquire some product company. We're looking into it.
Okay.
That is one area, but we're not going to build products. The kind of growth that we've been seeing in the last 3 or 4 years, if we just sustain that, we'll cross 1,000 people. And that's our primary milestone for the next 6 to 8 months, or maybe 9.
Okay. So it's kind of acquiring and in terms of skill sets, Hemant, I mean, is there any advice you would love to give to youngsters who are watching it, right? Because it also Gen AI gives a lot of opportunities for youngsters who wanted to get into tech industries as well. In terms of skill sets that are required, is there anything that you would like to share around that? Your take on it?
No. Frankly, I'll tell you, whatever I say today will not be true tomorrow. So I want you to be, I have seen this in India, that this is not present in the US. Okay. In India, everybody wants to become a manager very quickly.
Yes.
In 4 years or 5 years. Okay. Whereas in the US, you will get independent contributors who are 25, forget 25. People who started working with me in 1987 are still, some of them are independent contributors in the US. Okay? Americans. Now, these guys are making a lot of money.
Yes.
They have mansions, but they're not managed. Right? So there are two different ways of looking at your career. One is you go deep, technology, or you become a manager and manage large projects, and that is the management area. You have to decide that pretty quickly in life. Secondly, if you're going deep, you can't say, I will stay on one platform. If you say, okay, you're going to go deep in data warehouse, as an example, okay, then you should know 4 or 5 tools, because you can, it's not a lottery. You can't bet on, I don't want to take any names here, but you bet on A and A goes away. What happens to you? I'll give you my personal example. When I came to India, I was an expert on Sybase. Okay? I was working on Sybase since 89 when it was introduced. And I came here in 97. So everybody at Sybase was a very small company there. So the engineering staff and everybody knew me personally. Okay. So this was what got me into HDFC Bank and Bombay Stock Exchange and Kotak, because they were Sybase users. Where is Sybase today? Have you heard of Sybase?
No, not really.
Who in India uses? As far as I know, nobody. So if you bet your money on one particular technology, you could just vanish if it vanishes, and you have no control. So if you say databases, should know the fundamentals of databases, and then you should know all the databases that are available in the market, or at least a few of them, not
Yes.
one or two. This is very important.
So is the agility, right? You keep learning, you keep learning. Don't be rigid with one certain thing, but you just keep learning. And also what you said, right? Be very early in your career, just choose yourself. You want to go into leadership role, or you wanted to be good on your own and individual contributor, and choose your career path. So that kind of helps you to kind of reshape where you want to take it. Those were two good insights, Hemant. Finally, is there any wisdom that you would share from a leadership standpoint for leaders who are who want to get into entrepreneurial mindset and grow their team? I know you've shared from a technology standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. Is there anything that you'd like to share?
See, leadership style is something that you have to develop yourself.
Okay.
And the most important thing is, it's a very commonsensical thing. It's like, treat people the way you would like to be treated.
Love it.
I mean, forget the person who newly joins, a fresher who newly joins an organization, and forget the CEO. But everybody in between has somebody they report to and has somebody that reports to them. Correct? So if you don't like what your, for a lack of better word, boss does to you, the least you can do is not do that to report to you. As simple as that. Right?
Agreed. And I think I like the way, just treat people like the way you treat yourself, right? You like to be treated. Yes.
Correct. In general, right? In India, there is this tendency to shout at people. That does not achieve anything. If somebody does something wrong, no matter, it could be your driver, right? If he does something wrong, shouting at him does not tell him what he did wrong. Wait for 10 minutes and then tell him, look, you did this, please don't do it next time. Much more effective than shouting. When you start shouting, the person closes. See, people have this ability to close their ears. Trust me. Right? Everybody can close eyes, but everybody can close their ears too. When you start shouting, people close their ears.
Yeah. And in fact,
if you come across as explain them what they did wrong, they're willing to listen. Not only that, they'll ask you to 10 more questions.
So he's basically he's bringing that compassion in your leadership style, right? Just be having that caring and also be direct.
Tell him he did something wrong.
Yes, exactly. Now, these are brilliant. This is a very good insight, Hemant. You know what? Thank you very much for your wisdom and sharing your insights. And special thanks once again. You know, as soon as I reached out to you, you've been more than generous in giving me your time. In fact, as I said, right, I was looking forward for this interaction. It's such a nice feeling that you sharing your wisdom and insights. And I'm sure for people who are listening, they would act upon it. Right, not only just listening, but act upon it as well. But thank you, Hemant, for your wonderful time. And it's a weekend, and I'm sure your calendar is already packed up for exciting weekend to come in.
I have to work here till 7 p.m. by the way. Normally, there are no customer meetings, so we have internal
meetings as well. Okay, so brilliant. Thank you, Hemant, and have a wonderful rest of the day. And take care of you.